Fake. Whoa. Not here. all news
I'm
is real
Sergio
news.
Galeano. This is fake news.
This just in, Drexel's sourcing Schuylkill water. Heard it here first.
Ladies and gentlemen,
That
you
news.
are watching a live chat with Tioga. I'm your host, Sergio Galeano, and I'm joined by Thomas Keller. That's it. We can wrap it up now.
I'm here.
Coming back, Greg and Derek. Thank you so much for
Happy
coming
to be here.
Thanks for
It's
having us.
been a year. Was it? Did we shoot this?
A year
I
and
thought it was like in November.
it
or
was
something.
last
No.
fall.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the fall.
I remember I wasn't on that chat. 'Cause I think you. What did you guys have? 3 of you?
Yes.
This all spoke,
Yeah.
right?
It was
Stan?
pre Thomas, pre Tom, or like
No, I was there. I was just in the
there.
background.
You sat
I
recording?
just I didn't feel like
Yeah.
I didn't feel like talking.
all right. Well,
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 now I
it's
feel
been
like
a bit.
talking.
so tell us how has you're playing with Henry now,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah,
there's
we got Henry
that.
in the fold.
Live zone.
Got,
Henry?
the Henry Tyler back on the Skins. It's very nice. Very
Skins.
welcome addition to the group.
You guys been touring, right?
Yeah,
Got a tour coming up. What is that? Late March.
yeah, I think the last week of March.
Yeah, what Henry's saying that you guys are playing Black Hat in DC and stuff. That's a popular venue,
We're
man.
going out west.
Yeah.
Going out west.
Ooh, very nice. And what you guys just had a DC show recently too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's so cool to actually be getting out of this area and kind of I guess expanding your sound.
It feels
Yeah.
like every other weekend Henry's
Yeah. But,
out. with you guys.
I mean, Henry's really just our source of Tioga news. So we'll stop bringing him up now. But
Yeah, no, it's, there's a great local music scene here, obviously, in the, New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, but it is always cool to get out of the city and, meet people that you might not normally and play and hear different things that, you might not experience. So
cool.
always a good time getting out.
Yeah. So what are some of the dates or spots that you guys are playing on this new tour? You said you're going out west, or
You're going to Ohio, right? You're going to do it,
Well,
right?
We're going out as far as Iowa.
oh wow,
Davenport, Iowa, yeah, but we're going to hit Chicago on the way, Columbus, D.C., New York, Asbury Park, maybe Philadelphia. So yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's like a week.
Yeah. All right. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty excited. I think, in fact, we actually just secured Philly today, so
Oh, very nice.
it's definitely Philly.
Definitely.
I heard some cool stuff's happening in that city.
So the next album, you guys are working on something right now, aren't you?
Yeah, we're working on our first full length.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool beans.
That's the first full length. I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, so we've done 2 EPs up to this point. And today we did a song from the first EP, we did a song from the second EP, and we did what's going to be the first track on our upcoming LP
Very nice.
That's awesome, dude.
Kind of spanning the breadth of our material.
of our career thus.
Yeah.
Oh, you closed out with one of the new songs too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Young Man Now.
Yep.
It's catchy. I mean, all your songs are catchy. That's a catchy one right there.
Yeah.
I also really like Tigers. So that's my first song, like Tioga song, that I really started bumping over and over again.
That was the first single. That was the first song.
Oh,
we
was
wrote.
it?
Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about that song. Take
Well-
us back.
Ooh, wow, that's back to the old apartment.
That's 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's been
2 Aprils ago.
yeah, wow, April 2016.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So me and Austin were living together, and Greg and I and Austin just started sitting around kind of jamming, trying to figure out stuff. In fact, I think our first ever jam was in the studio right here. Or was it Studio C?
Might have been Studio C.
Studio
But-
C, everyone.
But yeah, we just started kind of messing around, and one day Greg comes in. I specifically remember just the feel of that song, the chord progression, and we just started building on that.
Yeah. No, it was that was lightning in a bottle when we wrote that they kind of all came together. And I was like, "Yep, this is gonna be a good idea."
Cool.
This is
Tioga.
the band in general.
I never. Maybe we did talk about it in the last time you guys came, and hung out with us. But Tioga, where does that come from? Is that because I know there's a street?
Yeah,
This
it's
is Tioga.
It's like a neighborhood.
There's a
Tioga.
street, there's a neighborhood, there's a
Yeah.
county.
Yeah,
Is that
all
is
sorts
that
of-
what you
There's
guys
an
are
RV
going
company.
for?
Yeah.
Really?
No, yeah, no. Tioga is a word. It's the anglicized pronunciation is more phonetic. It's Tioga, but we say Tioga because I read a book from like the 1800s that had a bunch of Native American names. There's a guy that from Bethlehem that went and cataloged all of the different words and the origin and all these locations, and Tioga is essentially a simplification of a word that means a gathering point or a meeting of rivers, and we're all from different places and we've had different musical experiences. So the band is that meeting. It's that focal point for us. So that's where the name of the band comes from.
Very nice.
I like that.
Yeah, very romantic.
I like that a lot. Yeah, you used to play with Skinny Dip, right, Derek?
Yeah, that was the group for a couple years, and I was co-fronting that one.
Yeah.
It was a little different role.
I was gonna say it's kind of like a whole different type of music too, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot more of that kind of fuzzy, grungy emo stuff. I like I do like how my role here live and whatnot is able to just kind of focus on the guitar work. And kind of how that ties in with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Cool beans.
One of the things that we have noticed as a band is everybody in our band has either been, either a writer or a front person or a co-front person in another project. So it's like you have 4 people who, have an artistic vision for the band.
That's cool.
Yeah. So sometimes there's, maybe there'll be a conflict or somebody wants to go one way, another person wants to go another way. But I've said before, I would rather have 4 people with strong opinions and passions about the music and about the sound and not afraid to perform than have, one person dragging 3 other people along. It's really a unique dynamic, I think, that we have.
Supergroup.
All right, well said. All right, let's move on. So we wanted to talk to you guys about this concept that we throw around when we're coming up with topics, and one which is essentially the idea that some artists, or rather how we feel about certain artists, like on SoundCloud or on Bandcamp, that tend to release mostly singles, and how we feel about like whether or not we think they should release more. In my opinion, I only want more content from those people, and it aggravates me to no end.
well, it's weird because it's like a disconnect involved, right? Where it's just a series of singles that get put out every few months or whatever, and even if the artist has been around for a few years and it's just singles laying about, it's like, yeah, these are great songs, but for some reason you don't feel like a unison across all of them.
Sure.
So it's just like, all right, better hop to this release now,
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like, when artists kind of finally start coming around, it's like, just catalog, just take all the singles, just throw them onto an EP, please.
And just selection.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, some notable folks who have done that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Designer had 2 big singles, 3 big singles.
That's all he wrote off. It was like 3
really
singles.
For it beyond that. I mean, Drake just put out a single that actually has a title. It's a single and a B-side, and that itself has a title that isn't either of the song titles. I know a couple of bands who are our peers that are more single oriented towards, and I think in today's content, more, what have you done lately? Some bands, some music groups are finding that it is more profitable in terms of commanding people's attention to continue to have the hype on doing 16 singles in close succession rather than a full release.
On that, if you look kind of at the numbers on like Spotify, if you put out an album of 10 to 12 songs, typically it's the lead single, and maybe another single or 2 that get most of the plays.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at it from a number standpoint, it makes sense to kind of hit with the singles.
Well, it's actually kind of crazy because I've read a lot of content online for a few years now that people have been talking about like the death of the album, because at least with the mainstream pop artists, it feels like a lot of the times no one really listens to the deep cuts from the albums. It's just the singles, right? Which doesn't really help with streaming services that are just like, oh, here's like their top song, like might as well just listen to that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
and so it's kind of like disheartened a lot of people in terms of, because obviously, I mean, my own philosophy is that like you can love a song off the album, but I typically kind of won't listen to it unless I like the rest of the album. Like I try to just download the albums as a whole and make sure I appreciate the full album, especially when it comes to like buying records or something like that. I want to make sure like this is like something I appreciate front to back kind of thing.
It's also probably the internet age, because you get a lot of bedroom producers now.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, and for them it's a lot easier, and for many artists in general, it's just a lot easier to craft one good song at a time, and then spend a lot of time on it and release it, and then just like not even catalog them, but like continuously keep them up just like one by one, and then like. But then you also have bands like Twin Peaks who will do like a whole like event out of it, and with the sweet 17 singles, they release 2 a month, and now they're gonna. But see, that's the thing, they're gonna put out an LP, so it's like they kind of understand the game too.
Balance it out.
Well, I just wanted to add on to that. I mean, you said it's the death of the LP. But I think if you go back in time, I think now in our internet age where you can cherry pick songs out of an album, I think it's forced acts to put together a playlist of songs in the form of an LP that is actually consistently good if they want somebody to listen to an album. Back in the day,
no more filler tracks.
When it was only CD, and I mean, you go back and listen to some of the most classic seminal albums, there's a lot of junk on a lot of those albums
filler,
where it's like, what am I listening to? Honestly, and I try, and these people are my heroes, and I try very hard to to love the deep cuts, but I can't on some of them.
The contract says like 13 track albums. All right, well I guess 6 of those tracks are just gonna be 3-minute bumps of nothing.
Well, I think in a way, focusing on putting out singles as opposed to putting out an album is a kind of different craft. Like, there's definitely something to be said about writing a full cohesive song. But then to have songs that tie in together into one big unit, an album, or even an EP, I think, there's more, in my opinion, there's something a little bit more cerebral in that you're creating songs that exist, as a song independently and successful in that way, but also as a full unit, and perhaps there's a longer message or something more to be taken away when they're packaged together. And that's something that's lost in the...
I could definitely see that.
Cool.
I think a release of 12 individual singles versus a release of 12 songs as an album that may or may not be, as strong as each of the individual singles, but it's still an album. I think that gives more personality to a band. It's more of it provides more clarity of like where the band is in that snapshot in time in terms of influences and sound.
What it also just made me think of is when you listen to an album and each song kind of stands out. It's like any of these could be the single, and then that's when like the album's like really good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like artists kind of has that honed in nature of like, yes, let's put it in like the craft into each one of these tracks, and each one has the hooks, the whatever. That's what makes like the truly appealing, cohesive parts, right?
On that note, albums. Oh, what was your topic again? Let us indulge.
We wanted to talk about the first album. It's
the debut.
The debut.
Yeah.
It's a stage that most bands that we follow have hit, or recently or in the past, and there's something special, something important about that first, debut album, as opposed to perhaps prior material or material that comes further down the line. What are your initial thoughts when you think of the first album?
Well, yeah, a lot of it, of course, bands could have EPs and stuff prior to their actual debut, and those EPs can generate the hype, get the following behind them, and then as soon as that debut gets announced, it's just like, this is like the beginning of the band's career, right? Is that they already have the EPs out, they already have the following, but it's like this is like the landmark of like, all right, now it's just they're only going up from here kind of thing, which is cool because first band that comes to mind is Rolling Blackout's Coastal Fever, a great sort of surf. I think they called it a tough pop band.
How many tracks were on there? Were on French Press?
French Press, I think, had 5 or 6. Yeah,
I think it was 3 on each side.
Yeah, and so they had French Press and their debut, which was their debut EP, which was Talk Tight, and they're just now recording their actual full length album, which is super cool because those were terrific EPs, and it's like
they were.
now we're just getting started with them kind of thing.
And Palm, right?
No, Palm has had
they have an album out?
I think this is their second or third coming out, actually.
On that note, though, just like, because Palm is a local, they're Philly band, right? Yeah. Well, apparently they have an album now already. I should know that. But either way, I'm so hyped for it, mainly because of the EPs that they've already have out. And I feel like, it's that debut is a big deal. The debut really, how does it feel for you guys?
It's going to, for us in our minds, it's an arrival. It wouldn't feel right doing a third EP in my mind. It's time for us as a band, and I think it comes time for many bands to, you can release as many singles as you want, you can release as many EPs as you want, but, putting out a collection of, between however, 8 to 12 songs, whatever an LP is, however you define it, is a statement of, we're here in this time, this is what we sound like now, we've arrived.
It's kind of a testament of growth, in my opinion. From my experience, when you form a new band, the first EP is more often than not a collection of like the first, 4 to 6 songs that you wrote, and you just want to get something out, right? And if you're lucky enough to make it to a second EP or a second release, it's often, you're stumbling your way toward like, all right, we had this collection of songs, we liked the direction of 2 or 3 of those, let's kind of pursue that more. And I think we did that, and I think, kind of like Greg said, we're arriving on what feels like more of, the end, not the end point, but where we saw like the sound of this band kind of tumbling toward.
It's a milestone.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I've actually seen some write-ups before on how people should be advertising EPs as just albums, because when
I've
some
seen that too. I don't know how I feel about that.
when something is marketed as an EP, it's just like you said, it's a collection of songs. Like
Right.
typically, these are the leftover sessions from whatever we just did, and because of that, it doesn't get as much publicity. But it's like if you have like a 6-track EP, you can just peddle it as an album, and it'll get way more press behind it, right?
I think that one of the main things that separates an album and EP, though, however, is an arc, like an overarching idea, or even more than that. It's probably just an opportunity for the band to really, I guess, what you were saying earlier, like really solidify who they are in that moment.
Yeah.
Because the album obviously it's usually longer than 6 songs, and so that's just like a reiteration of the same kind of idea that you're trying to really put across.
Well, and I think we took a lot more care than we did with the EPs to really write the songs that we wanted to write. It wasn't, the best songs that come out, we're going to do the first 5 best songs that we write and then put it out. I think we wrote maybe around between 20 and 25 sketches for songs that didn't make it all the way to being fully written and demoed.
That's a lot. Wow.
It's funny because like the ideas that you think you're going to follow through with, when you kind of put them in the context of the album, end up not being something you want to finish.
And towards the end of the track list, coming up with the track listing, the last 2 or 3 songs have been the hardest to write, because it's like we know, it's like putting pieces of a puzzle together, and it's like we know what those last couple of pieces need to look like, and it's like this isn't
It's all
good
about
enough,
the
this isn't good
flow.
enough.
It's all about what songs build up to which songs.
Yes.
True.
A lot. Everyone always loves to pick on what their their favorite 3 sort of tracks that flow together well on albums. What are those like top 3 tracks that just like go into each other nicely? It kind of makes me think like, what do you guys have any favorite debuts from bands that have kind of of course gone on in their careers, like some of your favorite debut albums from select bands?
Do you have one off the top of your head?
Well, a good debut, I really liked Woo Life's "Go Tell Fire to the Mountain," which so happened to be their last album too. They just released one and then broke up, which I guess isn't too valid. But
I wasn't there for it, but for me, it's Fits for White Denim. I fucking love that album, like front to back, and it's crazy how it's insane how they were able to do that so early on.
Well, when I think about like the classic first album for a group, I think about the Avalanche's debut, which was so good that it took them 17 years to do the next one or whatever.
Since
it
I
is.
left you, man. Yeah. I think we had that hanging up last time.
This might sound stereotypical coming from Philly, but I gotta say Marietta's first album,
Yeah.
it's just hit after hit after hit. And R.I.P. Marietta, but wow, that was just like I revisit that probably every couple months, and it just wows me in a way that a lot of I haven't scratched that itch.
What's that
since.
album cover? I think I might know. I'm trying to remember.
It's like this kind of.
Is it a field or no?
Yeah, it's
It's a field with like a person in it.
exactly that. I'm visualizing it now. It's just kind of this.
It's like 4th of July shit show. What was that called? I don't know.
So, what's the name of the album that's coming out? Can we call it? Can we name it? Can we do it? Are we allowed to? Take it back.
Are we
I feel like
are we breaking the news?
we're there, but
You
If
could
it
just call
changes, it
fake
changes.
news.
Want to go with it?
No, we don't have to do it. But is there a release date?
We're just bleep it out.
Not yet.
We've got a release window,
Okay.
but I think spring.
Yeah.
It's coming out this spring.
The hard details. You got them right here.
All right.
Spring, summer.
Well, thanks
Explicit
guys
detail.
for coming on the show. It was really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for having
Super
us.
fun having, and you know, you guys are friends of the show, so it's like really cool having a really casual
Great to be here.
day. And you know what?
Great to hang out.
Thank you guys for watching.
Classic.
Take care.